Hey there. So I thought I'd make a quick video since I've gotten a million questions on the build for this car. So I'll just start on the interior, right? So it's been 8 HP swapped. This is a E60 shifter. I kind of like went round and round with trying to make a nice shift boot, and I don't know, it's not my strong suit, so we ended up with this, which is cool enough. But yeah, so, you know, it's kind of like the 124 I always wanted. It's the right interior colors. Got the cocoa mats. Sweet cup holders. Punk, old school. Well, it's a new radio, but it looks old school, but it's got all the modern features, CarPlay. Which is kind of silly that it's got CarPlay because at the end of the day, it's only got this little tiny screen. Mileage is correct. I did, however, swap the speedometer from an E400. It's an electronic speedometer, and I use the Turbolamic controller to drive the speedometer. That took some work because that speedometer looks for an AC signal, AC sine wave from a speed sensor, and the Turbolamic outputs a digital signal. So I had to build a little converter, which was not a huge ordeal, but it did take some trial and error. Yeah, put a wooden steering wheel on it. This is the vent that I worked with Tyler at Reversion Raceworks. It's 3D printed. It still has the original clips in there. It fits this nice boost controller / gauge, and it still incorporates to the original ducting. The only thing obviously it doesn't have is a little thumb wheel. But it still works. It looks nice. It's made out of, I don't remember the particular plastic, but like the fitment is awesome. It looks really clean. It does the trick. This stuff down here you can see is the Turbolamic screen and mode knob. So if I turn the car on, gives you a little bit of information there. Tells you the gear that it's in, the oil temperature. Start it up, right? And then if you're in regular drive mode, the car always starts in second. And I did that because if I started in first gear, it's way too low. But yeah, if you go over to sport mode, you can see it's in P3. It goes into neutral, pretty easy. Right back into regular drive mode. Right, so it's just super easy to work. Apparently it's going to downpour, so I'm going to take you over to the other shop and give you a tour underneath the car and kind of show you what's what. Fresh new air fresheners that one of my employees' sisters made. They're pretty cool. They smell nice. This is a barbershop smell. And then of course the OM606 head gasket. So I thought I'd show just a real quick little like how easy this thing is to drive. So right now it's in a regular mode. I'm just going to drive down the road and show you how great this thing shifts. Just driving it casually. That's it. I wouldn't say it drives like a modern M car or something like that, but it drives really nice. No flares, no bangs, no funny shifts. That being said, it did take a lot of tuning work on my part. It's stuff I'm just not super familiar with. I had a friend of mine kind of get me in on the ground level with some of the basic tuning stuff that just was way out of my league, and then from there I just kind of picked away at the tables. And admittedly, I actually used ChatGPT for a lot of it. I put a lot of it in Excel so that my shift points and tables weren't overlapping, and I was able to get through some of that. But yeah, utilizing AI really sped the thing way up. So I literally just dumped the bin file right into ChatGPT, asked it to decipher it, answered some qualifying questions, and off we went. And yeah, made a world of difference. So yeah, so again, I can flip it over here. Now it's in mode 3, so it's a lot more robust, shifts harder. It's pretty slick. And it does have a trans brake as well. If you put it down in sport and manual mode, hold it, it'll trans brake and then launch, which is super cool. All right, so we're out of the rain. across the street in the other shop, and I'll just kind of go through some of the things that we have on the inside and outside underneath of the car as we go. And hopefully this can serve to answer all the questions that I get. I'm sure there's things I'm going to miss inevitably. I'm forgetful, I'm old, so bear with me. Turbolamic stuff is pretty straightforward. It's just tuned with a, regular old cable. The controller, I have the controller mounted down there, like how in the ECU box, it's kind of down here. I don't know if you can see it. So I won't take it out, but there's, basically a metal thing there that there's an alarm module and a couple other things, and that's where I mounted the Turbolamic controller. Just again trying to make things as like factory plus as possible, because that's always the best way to do these builds, I think. A couple of other little things. Have this nice little speaker box back here just to help this thing out the best I can. Pretty modest exhaust. It's not too obnoxious. Trunk, everything's pretty much factory. There's a basic amp back there for that subwoofer, and then I have an auxiliary battery back here. Kind of what I found on this car is when I would sit around and tune the transmission with the key on, the glow plug relay would cycle on and off and put a little bit more strain on the battery. So just adding in a basic little battery helped a lot. So, and also I didn't want to run gigantic. Oh, there's apparently a bird in my shop right now. What's this guy doing? What are you doing here? Get out of here. I also didn't want to run a bunch of janky speaker wire to the back of my car to that amp. So I figured if I just put a battery back there and kept it charged, because there is 15 circuit back there, that would solve a lot of those issues. Yeah, so here's the, everybody in the 606 community has seen a 606. There's nothing revolutionary about this build. Hold on, get the hood open here. Oh, dang it. All right. So the car is converted over to EDC. So, like something you'd see out of a 99. There's an EDC controller back here. Hiding back right down there. I don't know if you can see that or not. And I had converted it over because I wanted the CAN bus so that I could use the Turbolamic controller. Hindsight, probably didn't really need to do that, since the Turbolamic will not send torque management shifts back to the EDC, which is, I was under the assumption it did. So unfortunately it will not cut power on shifts. So realistically, at this point I could go with CAN TCU, but I've got the Lamic dialed and I like it, so there's no point in switching. If I was going to do the build again, I probably would just stayed with the mechanical pump and used, the basic inputs for the Turbolamic. And all in all, I think that tuning would be a lot easier. But whatever, it is what it is. So started life with an S252, but now I have an S258 SXR with a standard SXE style compressor housing, and then it's 0.63 T3 exhaust turbine. I don't remember what I did. We had to do something to it to fit the housing from the SXR. But overall, I'm pretty happy. I think, the biggest thing that everybody asks, and I that constantly see in this community, is like, what's the spool? What's the spool? What's the spool? What's the spool? Really, I think at the end of the day, like, these motors don't really make much power below 3,000 RPM anyway. So I think, and smarter people can comment on this and share their opinions, but I think realistically, even if this thing made, 30 pounds of boost at 2,000 RPM, I don't really know that it would be like we all hope it would be. So I think if you set your expectations to know that these are kind of like an old school gas inline six that's just not going to make power past before $3,000, then you won't be disappointed. So part of the reason I went with the 8-speed as well. So for me, it makes it really drivable. Like, I can drive it around town. It's not logy, and then it'll make boost when I want. So it does have a wideband O2 sensor in there, just because I was curious. There's the boost controller down there. DIY downpipe, obviously. This is going to get rebuilt over the winter. I'm going to try a quick spool valve, and I'm going to move up to a 3.5 inch downpipe. Yeah. So I'm also going to hopefully work with Tyler some more and build an airbox for this area. This is obviously fine, but I don't love it. And I think it would be really slick to have a real live airbox, you know, to utilize air coming in off the fresh vent. So that's kind of on my list of things to do. It was a pain in the ass to figure out AC on this car because with the intercooler down there, there's no room for a condenser. There's not a lot of good aftermarket condensers that fit in this hole. So this is actually out of a 463 or a G class. I just cut the ends off and welded on, you know, ends and made these hoses in the shop. These hoses are really easy to make. You can buy all the supplies right from AC companies. Most hose stores sell it too. It's all super standard. So that's a big deal. I need to make a shroud too for it. I'm sure everybody's seen that we're working on a different solution for this intake. Yeah, so there's a couple things going on there. Obviously I want to, you know, initially I was going to utilize the B58 intake, but now I've kind of switched gears in that I think we're going to design something that is similar to the B58 intake without making adapters and things. I think it's just going to be a cleaner situation. All the vendors that I've worked with have been great for this. I know there's a lot of like back and forth and name calling and overall bullshit in the community, but most of that is from people who don't actually deal with any of it and just regurgitate and barf the information they've heard. But like Shane has been great, Luke has been great, Rodney at Bensteck's been awesome to work with. Fred's been great. Like I've got a mishmash of everything in this thing. I didn't buy anything from any one vendor. It's kind of just whatever suited my needs. The engine is the normal build. It's got new pistons, it's got rods. Didn't have to bore it, just cleaned the bores up, which was super cool. The build is what the normal build is on all of these. It's new pistons, new rods, bearings, head. I think I've mentioned a bunch of times on the forums, but I did work with Faria on valves, keepers, guides, retainers. I have worked with them on springs on these motors, but there's some really good options for springs, so there's no point in reinventing the wheel there. So I got springs from Fred. They work great. But yeah, overall, like, it's been a super cool build. Drive-by-wire, right out of a 210 there. Kept the standard 124 style glow plug controller. It has the older style 124 glow plugs in it as a result, which is just a bigger connection, electro connection, I should say. Added an extra oil cooler. Initially, I had worked really hard to find an OM605 cooler, which I ran on the car, this guy here, with the oil filter. But subsequently, as this intake project has developed and worked, I've needed to find extra room. So I went with an aftermarket, a remote oil cooler, which I'll put up and show you guys in a minute. And then the standard oil cooler, oil filter housing in the corner. So I've been pretty happy with that. It takes a regular Duramax, like screw-on style filter, and there's some really good options for that. As far as the body of the car, I haven't done anything to it except for space out the front's fenders. I did have a paint restoration done on it. Obviously tinted the windows lightly. These are Gildecal 17 by 7.5 or 8s or something like that. Real nice company to deal with. They did rub before I put the fender spacers in. They don't rub anymore. I did have to paint the front bumper because somebody here drove my car into the wall over here. But aside from that, there is no paint work, no body work to speak of, which I'm super happy about. I bought this car in Virginia from a Euro shop down there that looked like they were selling it for the original owner, either on consignment or something. But yeah, so let me put it up and I'll show you guys kind of the stuff underneath that everybody asks about. All right, so kind of underneath, I did a fair bit of stuff under here just because the car is a 95, and despite having low mileage, things are from 1995. So it is Luke's 124 intercooler kit. Fits pretty good. The tubing is what the tubing is, but I think all things considered, you know, like it fits pretty good. I'm going to be reworking it anyway since we're doing this, you know, different intercooler. I did just recently change the injectors over to a set from Shane because they're quick. I had a local shop rebuild them when I had the pump built. And I think I just got to give up with this local place. Like, this is now like 4 for 4. I mean, these things were nailing and banging, and it sounded like a box of rocks constantly. And I'm like, you know, either this thing ate a pre-chamber or these injectors suck. So, yeah, so new injectors, it's quiet, doesn't smoke at idle. Or if it does, it's pretty much not noticeable. So that's a win. Anyways, so there's a little bit of stinky diesel, as there always is, but new control arms, new springs, new tie rods, obviously B8s all around. I think they're HR sport springs. I don't know, part number's up there. You need to see it, copy it or whatever. I did put the tallest rubber spacers in because it was way too low. I almost think it's still a little too low, but I don't know, I'm probably being nitpicky. But yeah, you can see the oil filter's gone from up there. I'm probably gonna send this out to Pure Drivetrain Solutions this winter because mileage is like unknown on this transmission, but this is the 8 HP transmission swapped in. I have a new mount for it from Dummy Works, or however you say it. This was the exhaust. Somebody was asking about that. I mean, I don't know, it seems to fit plenty of room. It is a touch low there, but you know, the only time it really hits, as you can see, is when it comes on the alignment rack. So it's fine by me. I'm not too worried about it. Yeah, so it's got the bigger diff. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but it's 369, I think is the ratio, and it does have a quaif installed in it. So that was, I found it from somewhere. Somebody in England was selling it for short money. Waiting for my Kangaroos team's axles because these are going to explode, I'm sure, the first time I launch it on Transbrake at the track. And we're going to have to do something for these subframe mounts because they are getting mushy and squishy, and I don't really want to put polyurethane ones in because anybody who's done this for a long time knows that polyurethane completely falls apart despite being strong. And these are falling apart per the usual for 1995 bushings. Yeah, so that's on the list. Rear brakes is on the list. I have a set of C32 calipers that are going to go on it. Might notice that this has a 1350 style yoke. This is from a Chrysler New Yorker with a 7 1/4 diff, I think. It just so happens to be the exact same spline as the Mercedes diff. And bolts right up. You just have to cut the little guibo joint nub off. And yeah, that makes life a lot easier in terms of like getting a custom drive shaft made, because nobody wants to make, obviously, custom drive shafts with guibo joints, and they're real murky. So I can just have a regular old drive shaft with a slip collar in there, and et cetera, et cetera. Transcooler is back here. Despite what, like, it seems like a lot of room in the front, there's not really a lot of room in the front for things. So transcooler here, it is a currently a downdraft, but the problem I'm running into is that if I'm on the highway and driving like a maniac a lot, it'll get hot and the fan's running constantly. So I'm going to turn this into an updraft, and we're going to build like a NACA style vent utilizing those mounting points that would be for this. If you look in EPC, there is there's a cover that goes here for some European car. You can still see the mounts and everything. It's very similar to this one, but a little bit different, because it doesn't have the piece up there. But I'm going to utilize that. So again, trying to keep it factory OEM looking. Car's been in Jersey. Drove it down to Lime Rock. It's been up to Bar Harbor. It's been all over New Hampshire, obviously. It's been down to Boston. It's been, you know, knock on wood, I guess, it's been pretty reliable. There's the remote oil filter assembly, if you could see that. I'm just using these filters right now, but it essentially is a cross-reference to a Duramax filter. Made the lines in-house. They're obviously easy. Anybody can make that stuff. AC lines, again, I made here. So you can see the fender spacers probably up there. I don't know if I can zoom in on that so you can see it. But yeah, there they are, right there. So they're a nice little kit. As long as you're gentle with everything, you won't crack any paint. That was a big thing for me. These front brakes are also going to be replaced. I have, I don't know if you can see it over here or not, but I have some, I think they're 330 millimeter calipers from like a Silver Arrow style R129. So those are going to go in when I rummage up the time. Of course, I'm busy being a dad and a business owner and a husband and working on my project car and dirt biking and all those other things in the interim. So once I find a little time to do that, I'll probably bang that out. But for the summer, probably just gonna enjoy this thing for what it is and then pick away at the other stuff. I've got some other silly projects I'm working on for this car. Like I said, I'm gonna be redoing the downpipe, giving this quick spool valve a shot, see what it does. This is a bigger housing. Obviously it's a split housing, but the manifold's not split, but it needs to be split to work with said quick spool valve. This is a 1.AR, I believe, and that's a 0.63. I think this also will need to be modified, but I don't remember. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much sums it up. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the build. I'd like it to be a little less smoky. So maybe I will talk to Sean about that, but that might just be how it's going to be, being a big old mechanical pump diesel with the technology of a tuna boat, essentially. So, yeah, probably just that. And I have a Jaguar Land Rover 48 volt electric turbocharger factory thing that I've been working on making work. I kind of got it working, but my goal is to build a controller for that so that it will kind of be the initial boost hit when you're just coming off throttle, so I can build 10 or 15 pounds of boost in a compound setup, and then obviously it can just taper off and then use some sort of valve to open up so that it doesn't become a restriction at higher airflows. So that, and I'll show you, I got that across the street and I'll show you that. I also have a old 1990s car phone that I'm like halfway done. I'm going to use that for the transmission controller instead of the little screen over here. So I just kind of I like this, but I want something like a little more period correct. And I think it'd be really neat to have a old car phone that I could push, mode 1, 2, or 3 for modes 1, 2, and 3 on the transmission, and have the screen built into where the screen was, because it just so happens to be the exact same size. So I'll show you that when I wander on over. All right, so back at the main building, just show you some of the other little projects that correspond to what we're talking about. So here is the old vintage phone that I'm building. I've already got it so the buttons have like nice tactile feel. Here's my diagram to make it all work. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, DC to DC converter just because it needs a 5-volt reference, and I didn't feel like running a whole heap and helping of wires to it. So pretty straightforward. I think I may also do like a clutch kick switch on this car, because with the turbo limit you can do a clutch kick or like a clutch pedal simulator thing, which I think would be pretty slick. And then this is the Jaguar Land Rover electric turbo. These run on 48 volts. They're installed in their whatever their gigantic new 4-cylinder is, and they run it in like I think like a sequential setup. But yeah, basically it had a big old converter in there. It's a switched reluctance motor, so which I didn't know, but I'm like anything else, I'm learning as I go and just kind of winging it. So I thought it was a brushless DC, but it's actually switch reluctance. So I've been using this. I can get it to spin and it'll make like close to 2 pounds, but ideally it needs to make like 0.8 bar, which I think from a factory standpoint, these make 0.8 bar. So enter ChatGPT again. I've been fumbling my way through coding and custom firmware for this thing, the Flipski, which is like an open source general BLDC, or just motor controller in general. Pretty slick. I think this one is a 200, so it's good for 100 amps, I think. I don't remember. You can look it up and tell me I'm wrong and blast me in the comments. But yeah, I got it mostly working, so just need to put some time to that. But quite honestly, again, it's summertime. Busted up a whole fuel pressure regulator. Please, for the love of God, if you want to work on CISE, don't work on CISE unless you know what you're doing, because all you do is cost people $1 bajillion. Totally off subject, I know, but